The price of Bitcoin has gone up over the last month by 30%, while tech stocks have been getting hammered with the NASDAQ down 8%. So why is Bitcoin going up? Is it too late to buy? Let's talk about it. Hi all, my name is Greg and I make videos about the stock market and options trading. Today we're actually going to be talking about Bitcoin. So to break this video down for you, first I'm going to go over some key updates that's led to the 30% rally that Bitcoin's seen over the past month. After that, we're going to talk about inflation fears that could continue to send Bitcoin even higher. And finally, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you my plan for Bitcoin and my price target. But before we get into it, if you want me to make more videos on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, make sure to let me know by leaving a like down below and subscribe if you're new to the channel. With that out of the way, let's get into the updates. The first big updates that I want to talk about is big corporations buying into Bitcoin. We saw MassMutual, a company that's over 100 years old, invest into Bitcoin. And this is pretty old news. This was way back in December, but more recently, we saw Square invested $170 million in Bitcoin. According to their latest earnings report, Square bought 3,318 Bitcoins worth $170 million. Now, their Bitcoin position makes up 5% of the company's total assets. And 5% is huge, and a lot of companies aren't willing to take on this risk, except Tesla. Recently, we got an update from Tesla saying they invested $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. Now, Tesla has a lot of money to throw around. According to their latest balance sheet, they had $27 billion in assets. So this $1.5 billion investment into Bitcoin only makes up 5.5% of their total assets. But I don't think that Tesla and Square see Bitcoin in the same light. I think Square mostly sees this as an investment and a hedge against inflation of the US dollar, since over time the dollar is going to lose value. But Tesla, on the other hand, I think they see this as an opportunity to make new sales. While they might be holding it as a cash equivalent for now, they said in the future they plan to allow their customers to buy Teslas with Bitcoin. They invested this $1.5 billion in Bitcoin to set up this infrastructure and allow their customers to do this. In my opinion, this was a genius move, since there's beginning to become more and more skeptics on inflation and the US dollar continuing to lose its value, and instead people are putting their money into Bitcoin. And probably the biggest bulls on Bitcoin right now are ARK Invest and Cathie Wood. Cathie believes if every S&P 500 company were to adopt just a little bit of Bitcoin for every 1% that they held in Bitcoin in their total assets, this would raise Bitcoin's price by $40,000. Now, I'm pretty skeptical on this. I don't think a lot of these companies would be willing to adopt Bitcoin, since a lot of them are run by older executives that just don't understand the technology, and if they don't understand it, why the hell would they buy it? And this leads me into Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's take on Bitcoin recently. Cathie Wood low-key roasted Janet Yellen for her take on Bitcoin and basically called her a boomer without calling her a boomer. And I don't think she meant to be offensive by this, but Janet Yellen's take on Bitcoin is a bit outdated. Yellen's main argument against Bitcoin right now is she doesn't think that it's going to be widely used as a transaction mechanism. And honestly, I don't think it's supposed to be. Bitcoin is more of a store of value similar to gold. And gold is super inefficient and heavy, which is why we don't use it in everyday transactions. The same thing kind of pertains to Bitcoin. While it doesn't have any weight since it's an online currency, it is sort of clunky and outdated in comparison to other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin transactions generally take about 40 minutes on average, somewhere between 10 minutes and 24 hours. Now, this is a lot faster than your regular banking systems that take between 2 to 5 days to complete a transaction, but it's not as fast as other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum. And I'll probably make a video on Ethereum soon, and if you want to see that, make sure to leave a like down below. But Ethereum can complete a transaction in 5 minutes versus Bitcoin's average of 40 minutes. So this means that Ethereum can complete 8 transactions in the same time that it takes Bitcoin to perform 1 transaction. And this is why Bitcoin is seen more as a store of value similar to gold than a transaction mechanism. Yellen added to her argument saying that Bitcoin is often used for illicit financing. It's not like drugs are ever dealt with the US dollar, or $2 trillion worth of cash is lost every year due to money laundering. Let's just ignore that. Yellen's final argument is that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. She says the amount of energy consumed in processing transactions is staggering. Well, 75% of crypto miners are using renewable energy sources, according to the latest global crypto asset benchmarking study from Cambridge. And the banking industry uses plenty of energy. You know how much energy it takes to move those armored brink trucks? Or how much energy Jay Powell is using by keeping the money printers going all day? And speaking of money printers, we can't talk about Bitcoin without talking about inflation. Inflation fears have been on the rise recently, which sent tech stocks falling like knives, and Bitcoin has actually been going up because this is seen as a hedge against inflation. A lot of investors are expecting bond yields to continue to climb, and last I checked, they're at 1.6% for the 10-year Treasury bond. And this Treasury yield is generally seen as the rate of inflation. The Fed has been saying that inflation will stay below 2% over the next couple of years. With the 10-year Treasury yield still being well below 2% at 1.6% right now, the Fed isn't worried. But if they're wrong about this and the Treasury yield goes above 2%, that's when things might start to get messy. Then the Fed is going to have to step in, raise their interest rates, that way inflation doesn't get out of hand. If inflation goes above our 2% expectations, it's going to encourage more people to buy into Bitcoin since they don't want to lose money from the dollar losing its value. Since Bitcoin has a finite supply, you can't just print more of it like the dollar. This is a safe haven for people that think the US dollar is going to continue to lose its value. There's only 21 million Bitcoin available due to the blockchain protocol. Now you can fork the blockchain and create a new coin similar to what we saw with Bitcoin Cash, but the original Bitcoin, there's only 21 million in supply. Of that 21 million in supply, 18.5 million has already been mined, meaning that there's only 2.5 million more Bitcoin available to be extracted. And as the years go on, every 4 years, Bitcoin gets halved, meaning you get half the amount of reward in Bitcoin for every block that you mine. So clearly we're coming up on a supply constraint, and with the amount of demand there is for Bitcoin right now, if we continue to see the same amount of demand or even more, the price of Bitcoin is going to continue to go up. And you're probably thinking, all this information is great, but what the hell should I do? What's your plan? Well, my plan as of right now is to simply dollar cost average. Right now, I only own a small 0.027 Bitcoin that I purchased at an average price of $38,700 for a small investment of $1,400. Now this only makes up about 4% of my total account, and I'm planning to use dollar cost averaging and buy a couple $100s a week in order to bring this to 5% of my total account. For now, I'm planning to keep my Bitcoin position relatively small since I still see this as more speculative, and I'm not quite convinced on it like I am with my top holdings like Tesla, Square, and Fulgent. As I do more research and more information comes out on Bitcoin and proves my theory right, I'll invest more and maybe increase my 5% limit to 10% of my total account. Right now, my price target for Bitcoin is between $100,000 and $150,000. I'm not quite convinced as the huge bulls on this that are expecting $200,000 to $300,000 or more. Let me know your price target for Bitcoin down in the comments below. And before I go, I want to say thank you to all my patrons for the support. And if you want to join my patron list, I'll have a link down in the description below where you'll get access to live Q&A and trading sessions each week, price analyses for the stocks that I'm watching, and also I'll help you with some price analysis on the stocks you're interested in. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of this video, and as always, remember to stay positive, stay green. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.